Hi kids, I'm Michael Bain, and this is Triggered, coming to you from the secret hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains and Dragon House Studios out here in Colorado, and brought to you by Midway USA, just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Today is a first look day. Now that's because I've been on the road, and just yesterday when I got back into town, I collected up the guns that have built up at my FFL dealer, and just opened the boxes before I came right out here today. But I'm going to show them to you, and then I'm going to go from here straight over to the range and shoot these guys a little bit. The first one is this odd looking duck, and it is from Rock Island Armory, Arms Corps. It is a VRF14, and it's a firearm. You know, we've been through this a whole lot over the last few years. Is the legal definition of a rifle, a legal definition of a handgun, the legal definition of a shotgun, and then there's also the legal definition of a firearm. And that is, in this case, it's a smoothbore 12-gauge weapon. It has a 14-inch barrel. Now, if it had a stock, that would make it a short barrel shotgun, a controlled weapon under the National Firearms Act. But it doesn't. Does not have any kind of stock attached to it. The overall length is 26.5 inches, which is 26 inches is the cutoff. So if you have a firearm that exceeds 26 inches, it doesn't actually matter how long the barrel is. So we've talked about that a lot. Now, obviously what you see here is sort of a pistol version of the hugely successful Rock Island VR80, which has pretty much taken over 3-gun. Because it's a box-fed magazine, making it a lot easier to deal with than a 110-foot tube that you load with 10 billion shotgun shells. This particular one, it comes with a 5-round magazine. Yeah, 12-gauge magazines are really big, but it comes with a 5-rounder, and it will easily use these, the same magazines as the VR80. These are 9-rounders, by the way. My 3-gun magazines are all fitted with Taylor Freelance +1 base pads, so they're 10 rounders. So you actually have a pretty substantial amount of firepower in this gun. As I said, 14-inch barrel. This particular one, just a slug choke on it. Now, I have seen some information on the internet that talks about some of these will have, may not have, who knows, interchangeable choke systems the same way that the VR80 does. But one of the things I wanted to point out is this is not just a chopped up VR80. Instead, it's optimized for what it is. This whole section here is plastic, right? Now we're back to the graduate, right? What's the future? Plastics. Why is it plastic? Weight, 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 weight. The whole point of a handheld firearm like this guy is you need to be able to hold it pretty easily, because if it's super heavy, you're not going to be able to manipulate it the way it's intended to be manipulated. So what we have is this plastic forend, got a pick rail on the bottom, 2 short pick rails on the side, full-length pick rail. It comes with pop-up sights, and of course it's just made, cries out for red dot sights. And how do you shoot it? Well, we'll find out when we go to the range. But there's a couple of different ways. You can shoot these things here because you're lobbing a lot of lead downrange. Now you also notice you've got this sling swivel in the back, matching one in the front. But what you can do with a sling is you can use a sling to make an ersatz like stock. Essentially, you put the sling on it, push forward, boom, boom, boom. That will work. If you're going to ask me, do I know if I can put some kind of buffer tube, AR-15 buffer tube with a brace on here, I don't know. I have not taken it apart. And secondly, we have no idea what the law is going to look like in 90 days. So that's something to think about, and probably went into the thinking on the VRF14. What's it for? Home defense. One of the things that we talked about here on Triggered a little bit back was that I liked the Mossberg Shockwave or the Rim TAC-13, because if something goes bump on the door in the night, it's the thing to pick up, because everything is going to happen very quickly and very close in. If you've got a semi-auto version, that makes it all that much better. You do have the firepower. They're also pretty much fun to shoot, which you're going to see when we go to the range with it. Okay, VRF14, not priced yet, looking somewhere in the $500 range. In other words, pretty good deal. And right now, has kind of the market to itself with the Remington TAC-14 semi-auto down for the count. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Triggered. As I said, today's a first look day, and one of the other guns that was waiting for me when I got back in town was this guy right here. It is from Turkey, as was the shotgun we saw in the very first segment from Arms Corps, Rock Island. This is from Tisas in Turkey. They've been making 1911 style guns for roughly 30 years. They're being imported by SDS Imports, and this is their newest 1911 to come into the country. And it is called the Bantam. And the reason it's called the Bantam is because it is basically a lightweight commander. Remember, when we talk about 1911s, we talk about everything in terms of the original Colt product, government model, commander, officer's model, blah, blah. This is a lightweight commander. The slide and the barrel are forged steel. The frame itself is aluminum. This is 45 ACP. It also comes as a 9mm. I don't think they're in the country quite yet. But what sets this apart is essentially it has all the work done on it that people like me did on 1911s as soon as they bought them. Just to step back, because a lot of you who are younger don't remember this, but typically when you would buy a 1911 in, say, late 1970s, early 1980s, there was no sense in even taking it out of the box because it won't run. It would not run. You would send it straight to the gunsmith. The gunsmith would spend another $500, $1,000 getting it to run, send it back to you. Yes, it's stupid. In a world of Glocks, that's really stupid, but that's how it was. So over the years in combat shooting and then USPSA, IPSC type competition, we hammered out what an ideal 1911 would look like. I co-wrote the standard book on combat modifying the 1911 along with Bill Wilson way back there. This gun has all the tricks done to it already. One thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is take a look at the slide. It has what essentially are lightning cuts on this slide to take a couple ounces. I think this gun comes in around 24, 25 ounces, maybe a little more. But as opposed to just machining ports into the slide, which is often what we see when attempts are made to lighten a slide, this whole slide has been machined pretty tastefully. In fact, I'm looking at this gun thinking like, this is just a great looking 1911 slide. All the machining work on it, the way everything is put together here, the little machining cuts on the barrel hood itself. On top, you've got this slightly raised ramps, a green fiber optic front sight, and a really good U-adjustable rear sight in it. I thought, wow, this looks like what you might think of as a modern 1911 should look like, as opposed to just cutting some holes here. Accomplish the same thing, but this looks good. It's got a really nice ambi safety setup. Typically, I won't run an ambi safety, but that's just me. Skeletonized hammer, skeletonized trigger. Great big grip safety back here, beaver tail grip safety, which is a handy thing to have on these guns. And one thing too to notice, in addition to these great looking grips on it, which work pretty well, you'll see that the frame also has cutouts front and rear, not checkering, not stippling, but they do work. They're cut well enough to give you some grip on the gun. And you notice this kind of rounded butt here. This is something pioneered by Ed Brown, custom pistol smith Ed Brown. This is an Ed Brown bobtail, how he's got it set. The reason it's like this is Ed figured that one of the problems in carrying in 1911, if you're carrying it vertically or just with a slight FBI cant to it, the sharp end of the frame and the grips actually were printed pretty badly. So he said, hey, let's take those off. So this one has the Ed Brown bobtail done to it. All in all, it's a good looking gun. Trigger, call it 4.5 pounds, which again, you can get a 1911 down a lot lower than that. That's about as good as you're going to get off a factory trigger. But a little bit of take up, nothing else there, just that slight bit of take up, which is fine. It's a great looking gun. Comes in at under like $1,200, somewhere in there. That is, considering that the street price is going to be less, you're able to actually get a tricked out 1911 right out of the box. 2 8-round magazines, Checkmate magazines, pretty good. Cleaning kit, box, locking box. So all in all, this is a really cool package. You know, it's funny, I spent so many years shooting lightweight commanders. I've had maybe half a dozen of them. I've shot fairly famous lightweight commanders, including Jeff Cooper's last lightweight commander. But I'm looking at this going like, wow, 1911, I wonder how you shoot those. We'll have more Triggered when we get back. This week's Triggered is brought to you by Midway USA. Just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Volquartz and Firearms. Excellence is essential. Taurus USA. Prepare and protect. Rock Island Armory Arms Corps, home of the STK 100. Welcome back to Triggered. I mentioned that I had been out of town. We were in West Virginia, the Panthera Training Center, which is a really beautiful area in the mountains, filming a woman's only introductory class to the tactical games. Instructor is Tes Salb. I've known Tes for a long time. Tes is an amazing, amazing athlete. She grew up, as she says, in the Olympic sports, modern pentathlon. That includes the horse, all kinds of stuff, swimming. And when that sort of faded away, she decided to get into something simpler and easier than modern pentathlon. So she became an Ironman distance triathlete. But then fell in love with shooting, shot a lot of 3-gun, a lot of USPSA. To me, the idea of the tactical games, which is basically a mix of a very physical event, like you might see a CrossFit event, or heaven help us all, a toned down American Ninja event, with a shooting event, includes pistol and rifle. And to me, that's a really fascinating mix of sports because it represents a couple of different things. It represents a way to bring new people into the shooting sports. People who are over here exercising like crazy, and you know who they are. It may not be you, but you can spot them if you're out walking around a park. And what we do, go to the range, shoot, compete. The other thing it does is it is a challenge for the shooters, even shooters in great shape, because stress destroys shooting ability. We all know that. That's why we compete, the idea of stress inoculation. Well, if you have to drag a tire across the eastern United States, that's going to add even a little more stress. But the third thing that I wanted to point out is the tactical games and these mixed new shooting sports that we see coming up are essentially mainstreaming the shooting sports. You now have what amounts to a made-for-television event, an event that works on television that includes shooting, and that is harder to do than you think. I spent a little time talking to Tes. She's always fascinating. Let's take a listen.
The tactical games is a great sport. It's one of the fastest growing and newest shooting sports around. And actually it's great because we've been able to kind of grow the shooting sports and introduce what we truly enjoy to a new audience through the fitness arena.
Now when somebody watches the show or they watch this, they go like, holy crap, I can't do that. That's nuts. What will you tell them? What would you tell them?
You'll never know until you try. You know, each one of us is challenged by the tactical games and the battles that we do. And the most important thing is to remember that all of us started somewhere. So I always tell people, you know, just play to your strength, manage your weaknesses, and only shoot as fast as you cannot miss. And break the battles down into something that's manageable. So take it piece by piece, one thing at a time. You can't get to the shooting portion if you don't do the first implement. So if you break it down that way into manageable pieces, it seems a lot more doable.
If you think about it, it's not all that much different than USPSA or 3-gun. The first time you see it, you go, holy crap, I can't do that. And it turns out you can do that. You just have to work up to it.
Yes, that's very true. And we have different divisions within the tactical games. And so you can choose the division that fits your fitness or shooting ability. They start with intermediate and then we go up to elite. We also have masters categories. And they each have different weight categories, but also the ability to, like the intermediate group has the ability to disassemble their implement to move it downrange if the weight is too heavy or if it's something that somebody's not capable of doing. So we make it manageable and doable for as many people as possible.
Do you own a controlling interest in Ben Gay?
I actually prefer BioFreeze.
You have an intimate relationship with all those things you can put on your body to help it feel better.
And that and ibuprofen, yes.
As always, thanks.
Thank you so much.
I got to tell you, I got tired watching these women. I thought I was going to have to lie down myself. But on a serious note, there was a time when I left shooting briefly and became involved in high-risk sports. But before that, I became involved in triathlon. And I loved triathlon. I loved the multi-sport aspect of triathlon. And boy, do I wish, looking back, there had been a sport like this that would combine the multi-sport athletic challenge with shooting. It's been fun. Sorry I missed that one. I'm Michael Bain. This is Triggered. You can find us, as always, on michaelbain.tv, on YouTube, and now on Rumble. And as always, we are sponsored by Midway USA. Just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. We'll see you next week.